Hello to everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar today. I'm still starting very slow to allow everybody to connect to the webinar. In the meantime, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Mauro Bandelli, a partner of GenUSA. On the other side of the screen, you can see Kamal Hakim, that is American, coming from Texas, and also there is Federica Chiarello, that is Italian and American, and she's connecting from New York, our New York offices. And today we are going to speak about how to set up and manage a subsidiary in the US by a European company. First of all, I would like to introduce GenUSA. Who is GenUSA? Is an American company that whose mission is to support European companies in establishing and a continuous presence in the United States. We are a team of 20 people, more or less, and most of the people employees are in the US, and some of us are situated in Europe. These companies started their operation more than 10 years ago, and we at the moment we are supporting tens of companies in many industries, in food, fashion, furniture, automation, mechanical industry, and whatever. As I told before, we have a presence in Europe and in US. In Europe, we get in touch with the manager entrepreneurs to understand their needs and to set up a strategy to enter in the market. In the US, my colleagues try to, no, they don't try, but they do really manage all the operation and the services that we provide to our customers. Why our customers decide to select the USA as a supplier? First of all, because we have a focus on the market, on this market. We don't know how we know we have a specific knowledge in this market. We don't have our people don't have knowledge in many different markets, but we are specific and knowledge in this market, and we are a one-stop source company. It means that in the phase of exporting and setting up a company in the US, many services are needed to the European companies, starting from the feasibility analysis and the certification and fiscal and legal issue and whatever. Many of these services are the companies, our customers, usually they ask these services directly to us. And most of these services are provided internally. Some of specific services are provided externally, especially when some specific knowledge is needed. The other reason why suppliers ask of our services, because we have a deep knowledge, so we know all the problems that they will face, the European company will face when entering in this market. So we reduce the time to enter this market. And of course, we reduce the initial investment required to access this market. And also, we talk later about these services. We are an operating platform. It means that the European companies, when they start their operation in the US, they can set up the companies in our office, and we operate as we are a platform in the US where they can set up their company. What are our services? First of all, we provide advisory. For us, advisory means that we do market analysis. That's very important when a company they want to enter in the US, or feasibility plans. Of course, we support companies in asking the visa for moving people from Europe to US, and we do a lot of visas: B1, B2, E1, E2, L1, H1B. We provide initial legal and tax consulting, and of course, we look for local incentives that usually are provided on state or county basis. And now there are a lot of incentives provided by the federal government. Also, we do business development. We do sales office outsourcing. It means that we hire salespeople for our customers, and we pay for it. And also we do mapping, profiling, engagement of partners and distributors for our customers. And we support our customers in selling on online platforms in the US. Then we do management. It means that we are able to set up a corporation in the US. We do hosting of the new corporation, and we offer order management, logistics, customer service, and administration to this customer. And very important is that we do recruiting for companies in the US, for the branch or the subsidiary, US subsidiary of European companies. And when needed, we search for warehouse in the US. Finally, at the end, we do also scouting on new companies that they want to be, that European company want to buy in the US to start their operation, and we have European companies in set up a new plant in the US from greenfield. We do also temporary management and project management, where for our customers that want to make integration or a special project in the US. In the end, we do site selection. We look for sites for customers that want to implement new plant in the US, or they want to move from one country to the US their plants. Now, Kamal, it's your time. Please, let's talk about the approach to the US market.
Thanks, Mauro. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kamal, as Mauro introduced earlier. I'm actually from the US, but working in our European offices. And over the past few years, what we've been assisting European companies to do is to try to find the best way forward for their expansion into the US. So right now, imagine yourself having a company in Europe, a successful company. You're able to sell your products within the European market, but you want to expand it to the US. The first thing you might be thinking of doing is selling your products from abroad, whether that means creating them in Europe and then selling them to the US without really having a presence. So the first thing you would want to do before you decide to actually go and create a subsidiary there, actually have an established base, is to do a market analysis. What we can help you with at GenUSA is to try to identify the target market, because as I'm sure you're already aware, by already trying to explore the US market, it's very different from Europe in many different ways. The American attitude to business is different. The way that the customers perceive products is very different. So having a full analysis and understanding where your product fits in the market is crucial before you can actually get going. The next thing, once you've analyzed the market and decided which route you will take, we must define the strategies and objectives and action plans, meaning that the United States is a big country, a big market, 50 states, and each state has its own local laws, regulations. Some states are better for certain industries. So within the analysis and definition of strategies, we try to pair you up in the best region for success of your industry, meaning we help create a business plan, secure funding, define the measurables. And the one thing to note about going to the US is that for small, medium enterprises is to have a medium long-term view of 3 to 5 years. So there will be a lot of upfront investment, a lot of upfront planning that needs to take place in the beginning before you can expect to see the fruits of your labor grow. But within 3 to 5 years, that's about the time when a company that goes there to open a subsidiary can kind of be on its own feet. Once we create the business plan and we define the objectives and the strategies, it's time to actually implement the plan. What this means is creating a legal entity. And at GenUSA, we can help you choose which is the best legal entity for your product or service. We can also help with visa applications, warehouse searching, recruiting. As Mauro said, that's a big part of what we do. We help European companies find local people in the United States because a lot of the times it helps to have an American in the market to be the point of contact for your clients, your vendors, so on and so forth, who can then report back to you in Europe. After the activities have been implemented, after some time, it's time to evaluate the results to make sure that the plan and the strategy are working, number one, and number two, they're actually going according to plan. Because a lot of times things come up, could be COVID that comes up, you need to reformulate your strategy. So we've seen a lot of those over the past years. Once we decide to evaluate the results, if there's anything that we would recommend, we can fine tune and readjust the strategies specifically for the company. Mauro, can you please go to the next slide? Okay, so going back to what I said, there's many different ways you can choose to enter the US market. For example, in the beginning, you might be selling your product from your own country, whether that's Germany or Italy or Spain, you're just exporting the product to the US. It's not the most ideal because tax purposes, it requires different visits. You don't really have a presence. So it's not the most ideal way to go, but it's definitely a start when you're small. It's best for micro companies for pre-investment evaluations when you're just getting started. The next category is representation through agents or distributors. And we saw this happen a lot in the 1980s and 90s when this was the way that European companies would enter the US market. However, it's kind of outdated. It's lost its charm. Right now, it's valid for well-established brands that customers already know and it has a big customer awareness, brand awareness. The next one is having a branch office. So the way that a branch office is different from a subsidiary is basically the European company just has a representative office in the US, no legal entity, no tax entity. It's not ideal in the way that a subsidiary would work because a subsidiary is its own company in the US. For example, it will say the name of your company, USA. So the reason why it's good is it works really well with small, medium enterprises, baseline level to achieve tangible results. While it does involve fixed investments, it's pretty minimal because if you're working with us, for example, we have offices throughout the US that we can host your company. So there isn't an upfront cost to having a whole office space that you need to rent out, even if you don't have many employees yet. Another path where we've seen that's pretty interesting is a joint venture where you partner with a US company, whether that's agreements with local manufacturers or distributors, or creating a commercial partnership with a company. The last avenue is to actually acquire a company in a similar field. Whether you produce a product in Europe and you see a competitor in the US that does a similar thing, you think that might be the best way. Downside is that it costs a lot because you need to put up the investment right away. But it does ensure some kind of results because you already know before you buy the company what their standing is. There's already a proven track record established. Mauro?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kamal. What are the minimum requirements to ensure a stable, continuous presence of a European company in the US? We mean, what are the minimum requirements to have a continuous flow of sales, flow of sales in the US? First of all, to have it's very important to set up a legal entity in the US because it's the first pillar in to have in the US. Then it is very important to have the product already stocked in a warehouse in the US because they have to be ready to be shipped soon in small quantities. It is very important. Also, it is very important to have a local staff, mainly sales, but also technical staff for ensure a technical customer service when it is needed. It is important also to have a local customer service for post-sales activities. It is very important that the company is able to invoice in their customers in local currency, and it's very important to have a local administration. Also, for US customers, it's very important that the agreements is done according to the US rules, and because it means that they can be more reliable. So, and also, it is very important that any product has a specific registration, a specific certification to be that allows to be sold in the US. What does it mean? What does it mean? Set up a corporation in the US. First of all, is very easy. We have to say that it's a very easy activity that can be done in few days, and it's not a huge investment, and it is not required a share capital. It's not required to have a US partner administrator. Is not. And also to be an officer of this company is not required to have a visa, US visa, and also the shareholder has not to be an American. So, and also the administration and it is very easy because, for example, there are not a lot of implication about in managing the company. I make an example. There is no VAT, and also is not mandatory to deposit to the Chamber of Commerce the balance sheet and profit and loss of the company every year. So, and also there is a strict confidentiality about the shareholders. So to have also having a corporation in the US allows the company to have a bank account for daily operation, and also it's possible to have a product liability in the US issued by a US insurance. And also, of course, it's very important that in any case, the responsibility of the company is limited to the capital of the US company. So, and the main reason why it's important to set up a corporation in the US is that the European company becomes reliable on versus the US customers. You can set up your corporation everywhere in the US and sell and produce everywhere in the in any other states. It's important. It is important to register in the states where you are going to operate. The taxation is very simple. It's very simple. It is 21%. It is a flat rate on federal basis, and the tax at the state level is goes between 0 and 11%. Also, to set up a corporation in Delaware is not always the best state. Also, because it is convenient if you want to have a place where trade your company and seeking finances, or you want to have a specific protection about the privacy of the shareholders, but for sure is not a state where you can have some saving on the taxes. And the tax and legal and tax compliances are very easy. Of course, you have to maintain the accounting records. Every year, April the 15th, you have every corporation has to make the corporate tax filing, and it is needed to renew the annual report at the registered agent. After setting up a corporation, of course, there is the management of the corporation. We offer a specific service that can help the corporation in daily operation, because we provide to our customer offices, and above all people that can provide the services as administration, accounting, order management, customer service, logistics support, any kind of operation except sales. It means that the company in US, they have only focus on sales, and if they produce, they can focus only on the production. There is no need of local personnel, and it is a turnkey package. So it is not needed. It is we can offer all these services for a monthly fee, and also it means that you don't need an office for to manage this kind of services. Kamal, please, it's your turn.
Okay. Again. So building off of what Mauro said, the first phase of a new business in a country allows the company to focus on building sales. So when you decide to enter the US market, your main focus should be on building sales. What GenUSA can provide is, I would say, an overall back office solution that will handle communication with vendors, with your own customers. We're one point of contact. We also can help with accounting, customer service. First step would be to create an email address, for example, customer service at your company branch USA, so that all of our team, as Mauro put earlier, we have about 20 people. Whoever replies on behalf of the customer, it will show up as it's coming from your company. So in a way, this is to support and assist your initial needs going forward. The benefits of having something like this is that the people that would be responding to customer emails are in the USA, they're American, they're in the same time zone, and they speak the same language, they're able to respond almost immediately rather than having to wait for 6, 7, 8, 9 hour time zone between California and Germany, for example. In addition, the USA branch of GenUSA is able to handle all of the accounting administration and then summarize all of this work and share it directly in one package to the company in Europe on a constant basis. Basically, to summarize, all back office work is managed by us, and we allow you to focus on sales, hiring salespeople to increase your product within the United States. Mauro, can you go to the next slide? Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit more about customer service. So the main purpose is to make your customers happy by relieving the stress, getting all the extra stuff off of your back, meaning that we communicate directly with their customers. Anytime a customer has, let's say, a suggestion or a complaint, or they want to know where their order is, they will send an email and someone from our team will respond as if we are you. And our main goal is to help your US sales team focus on their job and leave everything else to us. In addition, having a company like GenUSA managing everything in a 360-degree bubble is that we can help you in the EU understand what's going on in your company, giving you different trends. If something is going on, if a customer is really liking this new product that you're having, we can share with you their feedback. Same thing on the negative end. We like to help you solve problems. Mauro, can you please go to the next slide? For accounting, this is a tricky subject even for US companies, but especially if you're from a different country, you may not know the compliance laws and regulations that take place in the United States for the different various companies, which is why if we assist with the accounting administration, what we do is we collect all the bills, we make all the payments, we handle all the credits and business requirements, so that at the end of the month, when we record all the ins and outs that are happening, we're able to reconcile all the payments and receipts. We also can handle payroll for your employees, pay vendors, distributors, suppliers. And then once a month, we provide you with a report, which includes all the bank and credit card statements. We try to provide as much detail as possible so you're informed every step of the way. At the same time, we try to provide enough so that we're able to provide this to you in a speedy way. So you're not waiting months and months to see what's going on in the US operations. We'll be able to provide for you what is needed whenever it's needed. And then at the end of the month, we're able to close out the account, to reconcile all of the payments. And because we handle this on a daily basis and we can reconcile at the end of the month, when the tax season comes, March 15th for companies, April 15th for personal, I believe, we're able to present all this document to the CPA, to the accountant, and say, hey guys, we've been managing this company for the past year. These are the ins and outs of the company. They're able to do your taxes basically like that. We provide the knowledge and the compliance skills and to allow you, again, to focus on building sales. We own the whole back-end process. And then after we work with you for some period of time, we're able to refine the process per company. Some companies require a little bit more assistance. Some just want us to help them with payroll. That's totally fine. Everything is tailored uniquely to you.
Okay, thank you, Kamal. What we can say that with this kind of services, to recap, we provide customer service and order management, also for customer working with the online platforms. We do payrolls, tax management. We do so we supervise all the logistic activities, and we supervise the administration, and of course the agreement between personal customers, warehouse, offices, and business partners. In this way, the company has a tangible direct presence in the US for the order management and local service, customer service. They don't have the US customer doesn't have a fixed cost for offices and administrative staff. And of course, we provide qualified personnel for this kind of job that we do since for more than 10 years. And what is very important, the customer can remain focused on the business development, on the sales in the US. That is the main mission of a subsidiary in the US. Federica, please, let's talk about the management of personnel employees in the US.
Sure. Good morning, anybody. So I'm Federica. I work in the New York office of Gen USA, and I specifically do payroll and anything that is related to personal onboarding, termination, and so on. So this is a crucial point, I guess, because it's already a tough topic, even when you are hiring in your own country, right? So having it abroad make you feel like you are lost, and you add many other difficulties to the ones that you usually have with, you know, personnel that is in the same country with the same culture, same language, and so on. So one thing that you have to think additionally than what you usually do is if you want to hire somebody locally in the US branch, so a US individual, or if you want to transfer somebody from the headquarters. There's advantages and disadvantages of both situations, and basically it depends. There's not like a unique answer to this question. It's more like case by case, but we can say that there's general rules that can be applied to almost anybody. For example, usually what we saw from I've seen until now from our experience is that top management usually is better if it's like a transfer from the headquarters. Why? Because that ensures the connection with the parent company. So transfer to the US branch the company culture and establish and guarantee the processes. This usually works better than hire somebody in the US that doesn't know anything about, you know, the culture and the environment, the headquarters, mostly the products and so on. So top management is usually, at least at the very beginning, transfer from the headquarters. For sales personnel, it depends. Maybe the top management, even the sales, can be transferred from abroad. But yeah, it depends. And then the agents or representatives are better if they, you know, are able to talk the same language that of their leads and clients. But sales personnel is usually hired locally, unless it's like a very European product, so that having, you know, somebody that comes from that country is very important. For example, for us, Italy, if you are in the food industry, then probably an Italian salesperson is even, you know, considered a pro from a lead or a client, and unique products that are like global and not like segmented into the markets. Hiring locally for sure for production, logistic, and the accounting personnel that has to have the knowledge of the country, and to accelerate the startup time of the subsidiary, even because if you transfer from abroad, of course, so you have to face with the issues of the visas and so on. So, and it can take months, the result is not certain, so it's not like so easy take the decision to transfer from abroad. Usually also you have a limited number of visas that you can use based on the size of your company. So it's another thing that you have for sure to take into consideration in the feasible plan that Mauro talked about, or a business plan that for sure you have to create before approaching and try to penetrate a new market. For sure you are locally plug and play personnel. Transferring from abroad, as I said, the top management is usually better that it has a great connection with the headquarters and their culture. The personnel requiring interaction with the parent company, so CFO, planning, and so on. Personnel with technical skills that are not readily available or difficult to transfer. So cost reduction, it depends. In the US, as you probably know, the cost of the labor is very high. So sometimes transferring somebody from another country, especially from European countries, some of them at least, it's a little bit less expensive than hiring somebody in the US, especially in the top management positions. But yes, as I already anticipated, the problem is the visa that for sure can create some problems of uncertainty, because not all the visas you applied for are, issued, and then long processing, and then for some roles in some states, it's better to have an interaction with Americans and their culture and to talk the same language, not just talking about, the language itself, but culture and, understanding one to each other. Yeah.
No,
so
sorry. Yeah. This slide.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just adding something about the issues of the local personnel that is sometimes, especially in this market, that there's no really loyalty to a company. Everything is so quick and fast, and the personnel changes a lot, and you have a lot of turnover. So when you approach a market, you transfer the knowledge and the training and so on, and then you lose personnel and you have to start again. This is a big issue for foreign countries that approach this market with a different process, because US companies are very used to that. So they are organized to handle it, standards, processes, everything fits this kind of very quick market. Usually for foreign companies, especially European companies, it's more difficult to handle it because you kind of transfer all the knowledge to the individual. So this is a very big issue usually with the US personnel. Okay, now you can, thanks. After, all the evaluations regarding, hiring locally, transferring from abroad, etc., you have to take the decisions that every US company has to take. So focusing on your needs and the department and the position and so on, you start figuring out what is the person that the individual that you actually need. The first decision that you have to take is if you want to have an employee or an independent contract.
Sure. Bye.
Okay. Usually the main difference is that the employee is paid hourly or salary, use the employer material, works usually for a single employer, even if in the US it's not mandatory to have just one employer. You can have more, but let's say that if you hire somebody for a full-time position, usually this person works for a single employer. It's a continuing relationship, and the employer determines the method of work execution. The independent contractor, on the other way, is paid on project basis, uses their own material, and generally works for multiple clients. It's a temporary relationship, just usually it's a project. And the contractor determines the method of work execution. You just set up the goals, basically, of the project. Please go ahead. Okay, so when if you decide that you want to actually have an employee, so a continuous relationship with the individual that is going to be part of the organization, there's some activities that you have to do, and in that Gen USA helps you. I mean, actually, we offer services that are from recruiting, visas, so we follow you in all the steps, let's say, and even a little bit of consulting on how to make the offer, because you know, it's not like I don't want to, probably we're gonna get a webinar regarding this because it's very specific topic, but let's say that the offer in the US is completely different from offers around the world. So there's many different components that make the offer good for to attract good candidates. And that is not just the salary, that is very important in most of the, for example, European companies, but it's also benefits, and they are very focused also on the environment. They ask you many questions about the company and so on. So we can for sure help in that as well. By the way, after recruiting candidate job offer, the job offer is accepted. Then start the onboarding process. It started with the hiring paper. So we send to the candidate, the employer, because after the offer, we can say that it's actually an employee of the company, the hiring paper that usually are like, it depends on the state, because there's slightly different requirements depending on states, but let's say that it's the job application form, and then you have to send the forms to make the federal income tax withholding and the state tax withholding of that company. Why? Because in the US, the employee taxes are paid during the year, usually quarterly, by the employer, so that the employee has to give to the company the information regarding how much to withhold during the year. This is Form W4 for federal taxes, and then depending on the states, you have also the state form. Another very important form is the I-9 that is required by IRS. That is the declaration of the company that they have to check that the employee is eligible to work in the US. And then there are other forms and notices that are requested to be sent to the employee. Usually this hiring paper process lasts a couple of days, so from the first day of employment, even because you have 48 hours to have the I-9 form completed, and then you have to keep it for 3 years after the employment is terminated. This is very important in case of any audits and so on. So we also keep those forms on records for you, and we do everything that is in the onboarding process, even, you know, that is not like very technical things, but it's very important, like welcoming the new employee and make them understand how is the company from, you know, those kind of things that are like handling payroll and so on. And usually the company also set up a set of policies that are general applied to all the employees that are called handbook. So the handbook is has all the policies of the company, like travel policies, expenses, and so on. And this is another thing that you have to send to the employee at the real beginning, and they have to accept, sign, and send it back, so that all those kind of stuff and answering many questions. After that, after the onboarding, usually what we do is we use a payroll service that is very common in the US, both for payroll and also for pay employer and employee taxes. So what we do in Gen USA is negotiating with the payroll service the agreement based on how many payrolls per month, how many employees, and so on. Then we set up all the portal, we record of the entries, the termination, the changes of any, you know, employee, the salary management, the earnings and deduction. This is for benefits, but also for allowances and so on. And then the expense reimbursement process, we also handle the PTO. So that is the pay time off. That is another benefit that usually companies offer to employees. All the other benefits administration, that can be the health insurance, the 401k, and so on. And then the communication and support to the employees, to the company as well, because of course a company from abroad means needs more support, even, you know, with the explanation on how is it handled in the US, because it's for example, we have a lot of experience with Italy, and all the human resource management is completely different. Not just the rules, but I would say also, you know, the culture, how to approach is more like even a psychological, you know, support to make the parties talk one to each other. And then the supervision of the compliance with tax regulations. That's what I talked about. That's why we need the forms completely from the employee, because we have to check that all the taxes are, you know, filled out on time and so on. And the mediation between the employees and the company. Yeah, so another service that we handle that I'm very proud of, because it's pretty new, and I guess it's very effective, is the temporary management or interim management, as most people know it. That is like the temporary provision of management resources and skills. Typically, it's short term and the temporary assignment of an interim manager until a permanent manager becomes available. The interim managers are attracted for a certain time to take charge of a department or the entire organization. What I do like about that is that it's very effective. Usually in 3-6 months, you're able to make the changes that the company, if it would have handled it internally would have taken like 2-3 years to make those changes, because coming from outside is for sure easier. You have a better perspective of all the companies, and even you are not like into the relationships that are created during, you know, in a company, in the organization between people. So and then you are very prepared just to handle that specific task. And that is another very important thing, so that temporary managers are not like permanent managers. That's something that I always say to our clients, that is specifically focused on the change. So usually it is used in the startup phase, when you need very quickly to set up the company, hiring somebody and so on, before preparing, let's say, the company to a long-term leadership. During reconstruction, for sure, and the assessment of missions, personas, the market position, or you know, if anything has to change in the communication and in the objects reporting with the headquarters in the parent company. That happen mainly when you make some mistakes in what we said before, in deciding if a person has to be hired locally or you know, transferring from abroad. We have, for example, some clients that decided to go locally for everything, and then after 2, 3, 4 years, the two entities didn't talk one to each other. So they wanted to integrate the two entities, and that's when the temporary manager, you know, can improve the communication and use the of what the headquarter offers to the US branch. For example, one of our clients that had this situation, since the two companies didn't talk at all, the US company was managing by itself the entire marketing. So if it's true that the US market is completely different from the European, for example, marketing, and so you have to adapt the marketing. It's also true that the headquarters, that is usually a bigger size company, has more, you know, budget in marketing, and at least can help with content and so on. And then you have just to adapt it to the US market. And so without the communication, there were many costs that were double, and it was very good to see how, you know, introduction, some communication, integration between the two companies, they started to communicate better, and using also their references and so on, that had improved a lot the performance of the US branch. Yeah, another case is the acquisition of know-how and market dynamics. Having the time to acquire dedicated personnel for ongoing management and streamline company processes. This is very connected with the startup phase. So you wanna start, you know, being active in the US, but maybe you need time to understand what are the right configuration of your company, so that we can help with that, you know, time. That here we said that it's around 3 months, maximum a year. In reality, we saw some cases that we actually were there for more than 2 years. This is unique. Usually the temporary management should stay temporary, but sometimes you create the dynamics and then you wanna be part of the execution to see that, you know, the people are into it and are able to execute the business plan in the right way so that they are gonna reaching the goals and the forecast that you have. That you have in the business plan, so that sometimes we translate from we transferring the temporary management to a consulting or, you know, position, something like that, so that we can keep track of the execution to see that everything is good. But yeah, I love it. It's very effective and it works in many cases. And of course, even talking about cost, if a process handled internally lasts 2, 3, 4, 5 years and is less effective, it means that you pay this service just for a limited time and you get the results. So it's even very cost effective.
Okay, thank you very much, Federica and Kamal. It's unbelievable that we are ending this webinar in less than 1 hour. They usually last 1 hour and a half. So that's. I hope that we provide the audience some useful information. I hope we are, of course, open to receive any question and any and provide information that you require. You have our contact details, and please get in touch with us. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, Federica. And I think that we will do another English webinar in English, talking about the how to recruit a person in the US, and also about the visa, how to get a visa to work in the US. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.